All right, the next problem is problem 10. It wants the cosine of 22.5, which I'm going to write as 45 over 2 instead. And now we have a formula for cosine of a half angle, and that's on the formula sheet. If you pull that up, it's right here. Cosine of an angle divided by 2 is this right here. So it's plus or minus the square root of 1 plus the cosine of u. Now u is 45, so that'd be the cosine of 45 all over 2. Now 22.5, we know that's positive because the cosine of 22.5 is a positive number right here along the x-axis. So I don't need the plus or minus, I'm just going to use the positive. And then we know that the cosine of 45 is on your unit circle, that's the square root of 2 over 2. So this turns into the square root of 1 plus the square root of 2 over 2 all over 2. Now I'm going to get a common denominator right here, so I'm going to rewrite this as 2 over 2. And this simplifies to 2 plus the square root of 2 all over 2 divided by 2, which I'm going to multiply by 1/2 instead. And that turns into 1/4 in the bottom. And then that's pretty much my answer. You can simplify it a little bit more if you evaluate the square root of the bottom again like we've been doing. So this would be 2 in the bottom instead of a 4. I know that's difficult to enter in, but that's what they're looking for here. Where you can also rewrite this as putting this 2 out front. So I could write the 2 out front as 1/2 instead of dividing by 2. That's the way they did it in their answer here. And A in this case would be 2, and B would also be 2 for mine. Alright, next one, I'm going to do the same thing where I'm going to take this pi over 8 now and find out what that is. So I'm going to multiply that by 180 over pi to convert it to degrees. That gives me 22.5 again. So I'm going to make this the tangent of, instead of 22.5, I'll do 45 over 2. Now I'm going to look at the tangent half angle formula on the formula sheet, which is right here. There's 3 of them. So because there's 3 of them, I get my pick of which one I want to use. I'm going to use the middle one because that looks easiest to me. So it's 1 minus cosine of u, or it'd be cosine of 45, because u is the top number here, 45, divided by the sine of u, which is 45. Now I just need to simplify this, so it's 1 minus the square root of 2 over 2 for the cosine of 45 off your unit circle, and the sine of 45 is the same thing. So I'm going to combine these fractions by getting a common denominator right here. So this is going to be 2 over 2. This would be 2 minus the square root of 2 over 2. And instead of now dividing by the square root of 2 over 2, I'm going to multiply by 2 over the square root of 2. So these cancel, and I get 2 minus the square root of 2 over the square root of 2. Now that's not how they wanted the answer written. They wanted it written like this. So I'm going to have to rationalize the denominator of this fraction. I can do that by multiplying the top and the bottom by the square root of 2 over the square root of 2, and then distributing. Alright, and I get 2 square root of 2 minus 2 then, all over 2 in the bottom. Now I can divide the 2 into both parts. 2 goes into this once, and it goes into this once. So my final answer is the square root of 2 minus 1. And that's what they wanted right here in the form that they wanted it in. Square root of 2 minus 1, A is 2 and B is 1. Alright, so then the last problem tells us the cosecant is equal to 4, and it tells us our angles between 90 and 180. So first off, I'm going to draw a reference triangle that's between 90 and 180, and I'm going to label the cosecant of x is equal to 4. Cosecant is the reciprocal of sine, so it's going to be hypotenuse over adjacent, so I'm going to do 4 over 1 right here, and then do the Pythagorean theorem to find this length, which is the square root of 15, and that'd be negative because I'm going back here. And so now I want to find, this is my x. I'm going to label it here when really we're talking about this angle right there. But there's my reference triangle I can use. So when I want to do the sine of x over 2, I can write that formula down off the formula sheet. That's right here. Alright, so I'm just going to use this. It's plus or minus the square root of 1 minus cosine of u, which in this case we're doing x. Now the cosine of x I have right over here, so I'll plug that in. That becomes 1 minus, the cosine of x is adjacent over hypotenuse, so that's negative square root of 15 over 4, all over 2. Now, plus or minus here is what I want, so I need to figure out whether it's positive or negative. We're talking about the sign, so the sign's positive over here, so I'm only needing the positive answer. Now I just need to simplify this. So double negatives go positive right here. Now I'm going to get a common denominator right here, so I can add these fractions. So I get 4 plus the square root of 15 over 4. Now instead of dividing by 2, I'll multiply by 1/2. And that turns into an 8 in the bottom here. And then I can simplify that a little bit more. Actually, no, I really can't. So let's just write that answer then for the first one. Okay, I'm going to do the same thing for cosine of x over 2. The formula's right here off the formula sheet. So it's plus or minus the square root of 1 plus the cosine of x over 2. Now, the cosine of x is adjacent over hypotenuse, so it's negative square root of 15 over 4. So this is negative square root of 15 over 4 right here. And I need to figure out whether to use positive or negative. So the angle we're talking about is in this quadrant right here. So, you know, it's the cosine of this angle is going to be negative. So I'm going to want to use the negative right here. So I have negative square root of 1 minus the square root of 15 over 4 all over 2. Alright, so I'm going to get a common denominator right here again. This is 4 over 4. So this turns into 4 minus the square root of 15 all over 4. And now instead of dividing by 2, I'll multiply by 1/2. So once again, this turns into an 8 right here when I do that. And that's my answer right there. I know it's a lot to enter in, but let's enter that in right there. Okay, then the last one is tangent of x over 2. And now I've got 3 formulas to choose from for that one. I'll choose the middle one just because it looks the easiest. It'd be 1 minus the cosine of x all over sine of x. So that's 1 minus the cosine of x is negative square root of 15 over 4 for adjacent over hypotenuse. And the sine is opposite over hypotenuse, so that's just 1/4. Now I just need to simplify this. So double negatives go positive. I'm going to make 1 4 over 4 to get a common denominator here. So this would be 4 plus the square root of 15 all over 4. And instead of dividing by 1/4 now, I'll multiply by 4, the reciprocal. And these cancel, and I just get 4 plus the square root of 15. Alright, I hope this helps.